Welcome to Fred Achando Analysis, ladies and gentlemen. There is one question that is lingering in the minds of many Kenyans, both living in the diaspora and living locally. And that question is, after the polls that were released by Infotrak about the performance of this administration, what next for Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua? Because there are several pledges that they had given Kenyans during the campaigns. They promised paradise. But it seems that during the campaigns, words were so cheap, but they are realizing very slowly that implementing those pledges is not a walk in the park. 100 days after taking oath of office, it is crystal clear that they are unable to lower the prices of basic commodities. And that is the reason why, as we begin a new year, the year 2023, many Kenyans are asking what is next for them. Is there any hope in this government? Ladies and gentlemen, as we have a very amicable discussion on this, if you are watching this channel for the first time, allow me to request you with greatest humility to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. What really happened that has stopped the administration from implementing what they gave they promised Kenyans? Allow me to begin by saying that when William Ruto and his administration took oath of office, they still did not believe that they had taken over power and they were in the government. Because the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, kept on blaming the previous administration. And for some times, I remember the Deputy Rigathi Gachagua was saying that he could not believe that the very DCI officers who used to knock at his doorstep on Fridays to arrest him so that he can spend a whole weekend in cell were the very the officers who are now escorting him to his place of work. So it was a period that I may call or acceptance period. You see, in the life of every human being, when something happens to you, maybe a success or failure, you take time to accept that reality. And so I have a feeling that this administration took some time before they came to terms with the reality that yes, they are now in the government. And the reason why I have a feeling that it took them too long to accept is because the elections were very controversial. They all understand, they know, even if you are a Kenya Kwanza supporter and you want to face the reality, you will agree with me that there were several gray areas that you cannot explain. So they don't really believe that they are the president and the deputy president and the cabinet. The Kenya Kwanza team still, even to date, there are those who still don't believe that they are in power. And they kept on heaping blames on the previous administration. And by doing this, they lost focus of the present, what they are supposed to do to build a strong foundation so that they can focus in the future. You remember, for example, that they kept on saying that the government offices and several state departments were under state capture. And Mr. Rigathi Gachagua has constantly reminded Kenyans that departments like the Kenya Airways, Kenya Wildlife Service, and many others were under the capture of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, whether this is true or not, whenever you have taken oath of office, you must focus ahead. Because by heaping blame game on the previous administration, Kenyans don't care anymore. What Kenyans want is to ensure that apart from what the previous administration did, and you're at the helm of these offices, then you should do what you told them that you're going to do different. We do not care who brought this country down, because be that as it may, it is for that reason why some of your supporters voted you in, so that you can correct what you feel were not correct were not done correctly in the previous administration. So they took too much politicking, took too long to accept that they're in power. In fact, even today, if you follow social media, people are still asking, when will our deputy president realize that he is now in a government, so that he stops reminding people that he's the deputy president, he stops reminding people that the economy of this country was under the capture of the previous administration. So that is one of the things that I feel really delayed getting into the reality, so that they can start working to implement everything that they gave to Kenyans. And I hope after this, after InfoTrack released these opinion polls, our deputy president will not focus on going to churches on Sunday and still talk ill of Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. They must now start focusing on implementation of the promises, because the grace period is over. We understand that maybe they did not imagine that they were in power, but now let them face the reality. Number two, the early campaigns have just started. If you look at all the Kenya Kwanza team, Rigathi Gachagua is trying to unite his people and telling them to unite around the UDA. He gave them up to 31st. I'm yet to see whether they are going to honor that directive. He wanted all the leaders who he says are lost in Azimio to come back to the UDA. Musalia Mudavadi is busy uniting his people. So there is this kind of urgency to ensure that they rally their support around the UDA. Someone is rocking the KANU party just to ensure that Azimio's wings are cut. They are really focusing on 2027. If you look at the interference with the Cherera team, the cases that are going on, it tells you that William Ruto is focused on 2027. As a politician, it is not bad to arrange your house and put it in order, because I believe Azimio should do the same. But when we have a government that is so much focused and engrossed in looking at how they will win election in 2027 at the expense of the taxpayers, then in my considered opinion, this is wrong. So one of the things that William Ruto administration must do is to focus very less on 2027 and, bring full attention, energy and everything into implementation of all the promises that they give to Kenyans. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, I also want to believe one of the things that messed this administration is this political witch hunt and the revenge mission that they have against the former officers. When William Ruto started, there was this urge to revenge. If you look at the DCI boss, George Kinoti, you realize that the DPP had crafted some mission that he was forced to level charges against Rigathi Gachagua and people like Aisha Jumwa, people like Cherera being followed up here and there. There was this kind of urgency to avenge. And this, when you focus your mind and attention to people you want to avenge, people you want to punish because they did not support your bid to rise to power, then you will realize that you focus very less on things that matter to Kenyans. The main agenda is being lost in the process because you want to turn your energy and resources into your revenge mission. And this must now tone down. And if you ask me, I want to give it to William Ruto. It seems that apart from the Cherera 4, all the people who are being followed here and there with political machinations, I think he has stopped. People like Fred Okengo Matiang'i, the former DCI George Kinoti, If you look at the former IG, Larry Mutobai, he has stopped following them, and I think he is now beginning to realize that it does not help by focusing your attention to things that don't matter. The last one, if you ask me, because we are looking at what he must do in 2023, is that William Ruto must now cultivate a culture of public participation and stop this kind of unilateral decision making. You realize that at some point there was a standoff when he wanted to force people to start consuming the genetically modified organisms. And before this case went to court, it seemed they wanted, if you look at the trade minister, he was saying that we are facing death in very many ways, and therefore even the GMO, if it's gonna kill, we can just take the GMO because Kenyans will die anyway. In fact, he took the intervention of Raila Odinga, who made a lot of noise, and the Catholic Church came in, and the farmers. I remember even Kalonzo Musyoka was saying that by doing away, abandoning the SSU, the special service unit that was under the command of the Mr. George Kinoti, he did it unilaterally, and Kalonzo Musyoka was saying that some of these sensitive matters must be embraced in a culture of consultation, where you bring all the stakeholders and you agree. They were very much focused on trying to paint the former president Uhuru Kenyatta as a very bad man, and that is why everything that he initiated was being done away with. So moving forward, taking this political mileage unnecessarily is not going to help. Telling us that, you know, this SS unit was being used to kill people and dumping them in River Yala. I understand, because I don't have facts, that could have been the case. But before you go ahead publicly disband this unit and tell even all the criminals that have now disbanded this unit, yet they know that this is the unit that has been a thorn in their flesh. Don't you remember that for a moment Kenyans were left to suffer in the hands of criminal gangs because they knew that this unit had been disbanded and the police was on a go slow because they are being paraded there as very bad people, including those who are very, very innocent, and this did not argue well with them. So moving forward, William Ruto must understand that whether you support Kenya Kwanza or you support the Azimio One Kenya Alliance, we are all taxpayers. We all have just one country called Kenya, so we should be included. All the stakeholders should be included in public participation, and they must embrace a culture of consultation so that things must move forward. So ladies and gentlemen, just tell me, because I feel that these are the reasons why William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua lost focus. Maybe the last one is mispriorities. We should have a government that prioritizes what they want to do. I, for example, have a very big problem with the way sometimes we see William Ruto, you know, taking relief food to Somali or to, Ethiopia or Sudan, yet there are people in the country who are dying of hunger. Okay, it has never made sense to me when you do away with the subsidies on unga, then you give us a pay bill number to pay and help Kenyans who are suffering with hunger. So I have a feeling that they must now sit down and know priorities. Planting trees is a long-term thing, but not a priority. So we should not focus so much on planting trees. Let us have, let us focus so much on priorities that will bring changes to the lives of Kenyans and stop politicking. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts. I don't know what you think. Tell me what you really think so that as we begin 2023, we know whether there is hope or despondent in this administration. And that is my